interest. But anyway, on this video, she was saying, imagine the interest is something that's socially acceptable, such as human behavior. So anyway, when I was doing this assessment and she said the word masking, I was like, well, I have considered it in that I watched this video and it seemed very relatable. Um, and then she said sometimes the level of masking can be so high that it's kind of almost undetectable. Like it's difficult to like, you wouldn't really even see necessarily like those, let's say, traits of autism, for example. And she said, so it might be like helpful for you to just go through that assessment process. And she suggested it, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm in agreement with that. So I had the assessment and it was like, yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, you got the diagnosis, but they don't, to kind of add on to that, they don't use the terms like high functioning anymore, which is what I talked to you about before, because
Yeah.
they said high functioning suggests low level of need. High functioning would also be called Asperger's, but we don't use that term anymore because the history and politics to do with that too. That's a whole other
Mm.
thing. But so yeah, so I got the diagnosis of autism as well. But the kind of conclusion or reflection was that the level of masking is so high, such large volume of masking that it's like people wouldn't see. People wouldn't really know unless I'd been able to understand myself and explain it. I never would have got the diagnosis.
And so, have you got have you got a link for that as well? Because if we do put this out somewhere, you could be good to put a link for that video. Would you know what that video was now, the masking one?
Yeah, I've got it saved. I can add that. I can
I'm
add
just
that.
thinking that'd
Yeah.
be quite useful actually. If we put this out at all, even if we only do a snippet, which is
The
just too.
video would be great. And this book as well, Devon Price, Dr. Devon Price on masking as well. That one's a great one. Um, to really just kind of think
What's the
about like,
what's the title? Unmasking Dr. Devon Price. Yeah.
yeah, this one is great because it really just breaks down like what is masking. It's there was one quote in it that I'll read that I really like. Um,
Which was the
Hiding self-destructiveness behind a mountain of achievements isn't functioning. Not really. And I'm like, hmm. It's kind of like saying, look, you've got these kind of traits and behaviors, but you're then disguising it like behind all achievement, these achievements. And I'm not saying, look, I've got loads of achievements, but it's like for me, that's my interpretation of that is I show up or try and show up when I've got the energy to as someone who is functioning. I'm a functioning person in society because I
Mhm.
know that we're measured on how well we're functioning,
Yeah.
you know. So, let's exchange the word achievements for functioning, but it's
But
saying, well, it's not really. Go on, sorry.
no, I was going to say it's interrupted, but the thing is, the way we measure function is functioning in the functional world. What I'm saying is, nobody talks about functioning whether if you're functioning spiritually or do
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If you're functioning emotionally or if you're functioning, it's all down really, particularly in our kind of Western society, isn't it? It's down to are you functioning essentially with work
yeah.
or particular interactions, social interactions. Nobody ever seems to give a toss whether you're functioning spiritually, and I think that's one of the most important things,
It's
isn't
like
it?
the high level of functioning is, like I said, showing up, functioning, interacting, meeting like social norms, expectations,
So I was going to
demeanor, and all
say
the social rules.
that's it.
Yeah, so
Certain
that's like
social rules. Yeah,
that's the exterior, that's your overt like kind of behavior, right? You're doing that, but then the dysfunction is in your nervous system. So when it says self-destructiveness, your nervous system is highly dysregulated because of your high level of functioning, because of all the
yeah, but
detail that you're taking in and all the patterns that you're following. You get a kind of disconnect.
so it's essentially your nervous system's on overdrive all the time.
Yeah, but you know what? Off the back of what you just said there, I met someone like said to you before. I go to the yoga studio, right? And lots of like really not lovely people there, like-minded people. And what I found is, especially like going through like the perimenopause stuff, like all these traits I feel like are just in full force since being diagnosed and since like going through like these fluctuations with hormones. They're just in full force, right? So I could go to the studio and have a conversation with someone, and then I think, and I might say, they say, "Oh, how are you doing?" At the end of the class, and I'm like, "Oh yeah." They're like, "Oh, I noticed this." Oh yeah, and then I tell them about some fucking health ailment that they're not even asking me about. I rant on about something, and then I drive home and think, for fuck's sake, you